projects that's just there. I mean, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3.
Absolutely.
This is just this.
Adaptability, appropriateness, awareness of, appropriateness again, attunement, and that goes awareness of, goodness, humility, anticipating strategy. See, we're doing a mind map here now. Right? It's all
and
laid
they can
out,
all be
right?
courses.
And we've got impeccability, integrity. I'm just reading the headings. I'm just reading the headings.
What is this?
This is the mind map, but it's a printout of what's involved in the course. It's the mind map, but
So
it's not in a mind map format. Right, exactly. So this is what I started to do now. I didn't put it into the mind map and the connectivity, but it is what the mind map is, exactly. Right. So, but what you are after, John,
is what
I would like
about.
after too, this does not have structure to it. This is just a list.
That's what I'm after.
Right. So
John's an engineer.
My
Oh, no, no.
engineering
That's
logical
right.
brain is seeking structure.
Yes.
Absolutely. And,
You wanna you want to have that flow chart.
John,
Yeah.
I share that craving and desire and intent absolutely. Like I said, I have somewhere, I've got a spreadsheet that I did started, and I used the spreadsheet just to make, in the cells, to spread it out, and I connected them like that, and to make that tree. So it is there, and I do want to get to it, but it's such a big project that I start, and I know the scope of it really to do it full justice. It's not an impossible project. It's a nice large project, and I also waited because I kept expanding on lots of stuff. So now I'm in a place where I have it more of a complete. Never obviously be complete, but enough of a completeness that yes, now it warrants actually doing that precise mind map. So plus, I am keen to do it in the full service of it. So when we put in appropriateness, you want a hover thing that when you hover your mouse, it pops up the explanation of appropriateness. And the same with all the other concepts. And also you have the link backs and the entirety of it, that flow chartness of it. So it's a fantastic fun project.
Yeah, I can see the beginnings of the
Magical.
formulation of
Right.
the how things will
Right.
come about.
Because we want to illustrate in that map the sphericalness of this, interconnectivity of it. Yes, we start with that power triangle and then it goes back, but then as the branches, they're going to say, this loops all the way back around to the other one, comes back underneath again.
It's like relativity theory. The
Precisely.
universe flows back on itself.
Exactly, because all of this does exactly that. At the end of the day, this is the fantastic thing. Just to take some of these terms. Take adaptability to its maximum. It's appropriateness. Take appropriateness to its maximum, you get awareness. Take awareness to its maximum, and you get attunement. Take mindset to its maximum, you get attunement, awareness, appropriateness. All of these, goodness, take it to its maximum.
It all flows back, it all interrelates.
All of these, when you max them out, they all mean exactly the same thing. It's fascinating. So they're all parts to that unity that they all mean. Strategy to its maximum, it's appropriateness, attunement, awareness. It's just, that's what I really love. So I want to illustrate that all paths lead back to each other in that.
Right.
So yes, it does start with appropriateness as the apex term, attunement, awareness, and then from there you spread them out. But yeah, so cool. It's very exciting. Yeah, very exciting. This is a project that is super dear to my heart, John. I mean, really, really dear to my heart. And part of the motivation, Myles asked about motivation. For me, part of my motivation, one of my main prime motivations is making sense of everything.
Yeah.
That's it. I want to make sense of everything. And I have gotten to a point where I can say, hey, I have got a way to make sense of things. It might not be the ultimate making sense, but it's enough
to get started.
Oh, absolutely. It's more than enough. It's enough to live by. It's enough to connect to me
Just
to magic,
deliberate
to
way of
awesome,
living.
to everything that we talked about. So it connects me to the superlatives. That's enough for me right there. It makes sense.
Another A word is awesome. Do you have that?
Awesome is all the time. Yes, and appreciation. Oh,
Yeah,
lots
yeah.
of A words. Yeah, adventure, anticipating. So yeah, we love the A words. Yeah.
Okay, so this is abstract on the right. And then
Right, I
character-
just put them
character
in
traits
a
on the
order,
left.
in a list. Really, it's just they're not.
I'm just trying to make sense.
Yeah. It's
Abstract
not
on the right.
right. Kind of. It's not a profound way. I made two different ones. Exactly.
Okay.
You say you have 1 million words written? Did I hear you say that?
I have millions, not just a million. I
Through
wrote a
the
million in one word, in one
Fiction
year.
book, through the
Yeah,
other
So
the
here-
fiction series.
Here's what would
Because
be
there's
very
like 13 books
interesting.
and it's not finished. I mean,
You know what
because
a word map
there's
is?
always more. It's
Yeah.
always,
A little
I
bit.
mean,
It's
You
kind
see
of
them, they're
Like
words.
word.
Oh, right.
There are different forms.
right. Oh, you mean like with the words big and then
Yes.
yeah. I have it for my tags on my on my
Right,
blog.
you feed
right,
in
on
the
website.
words and it
Right.
comes up with
Right.
the most
Right.
used word is
Most
the biggest
used.
word. And
Right.
that would be
right,
very
right.
interesting to do on your,
mhm.
on your work.
Actually, I can do that for you. I can show you one right now.
My toes are cold. I was just
Whoa.
trying to warm them up here.
Oh, there you go. And the crotch would be the best place. That's the maximum heat
No,
right there. For the heat. Well, it's true scientifically though.
No,
Right what
I'm
I'm
not
saying?
going there.
I know it. You open the door, man. You know, you gotta go through that door when it gets open,
It's
right?
nice that we can-
I hear you exactly. Sometimes my feet get cold and then I need to put them in a space to just bring that heat up a little bit. Yeah, I purposely haven't shared the blog with you, by the way, Miles. You asked like Beata series or both of you because it's a rabbit hole, this blog.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a rabbit
Oh, we're
hole.
going down a rabbit hole now?
Well, not quite. I'm just going to do labels by frequency, which is a word map, right?
Yeah.
And there you go. So awareness, appropriateness, perspective, and the Beata series. So yeah, you go. You can get an idea.
So what's underlying that when you click that to get? the
Oh,
frequency?
it's just on.
It's a
I just
special
made
tool
these.
that you have?
Well, I don't know
That you
what you
call
would call them. I guess this would be sort of like a heading. They're widgets. They're just little widgets.
Oh, widgets.
It's just a widget that I put in there. It's a subscribe widget, and it just happens to be in the side. I've chosen this particular format, but there's others that I like. So,
Yeah.
so what's this now?
So wait a minute, the top three words were awareness, what?
Awareness, appropriateness, and
Perspective.
perspective shifting or perspective.
Okay.
Perspective.
So those are actual labels that I
Yeah.
tags that I
Mhm.
specifically use. So it's not quite the full mind
Oh,
map,
okay, okay.
No.
but look at this now. Just this view. I
Yeah,
specifically
so
used this theme
So
of
like
the
a
blog.
mood board.
Right, that it just spreads out all the pictures. And you know, when you hover over something, I think it gives you whatever the thing is. But isn't that just nice, fun? You like
So-
you like the art? which
Yeah, I
is
do.
good.
Yeah.
So this is like,
Oh, each picture's a post.
okay, but I'm saying, as an exercise, when people go through the course, what do I mean, these are words, but what does it really mean to you? To generate a mood board like this, you know, search the internet for what resonates with you when you think of these words. It might help to deepen the individual's understanding, the student's understanding.
This isn't really a mood board. This is just merely a way to access the content in the blog. It's just fun.
I understand,
It's
but
pretty-
it just gave me an idea.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
Oh, right. Interesting. Yeah, that's.
It's a further way to engage with the material.
Right.
Mhm.
Well,
We're talking about words here.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
I understand.
And some,
So in a sense,
Vision is so much more.
right.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
So much
And
more
and,
powerful.
and that is
I
kind of built in already because you know, see when you hover over it, it brings up the title.
Right.
Oh,
And
now-
this is your
Right.
vision
Right.
of the
The
meaning
art.
underneath it.
Yes.
Somewhat that has because
the nearest approximation. of
yes, we
the-
do try to
Doesn't
match
always succeed.
the at least the
Yeah.
title pictures, like inner resolution. That's a pretty good one. You see inner resolution and you see that complexity. But it's all cockeyed and complex, but it's also a gear, right?
Yeah.
So yes, there's complexity, but it works together. And if you just oil and put the gears in place, it will work out. You've just got to give it time.
Okay.
So this definitely does work with that. So we do try and have that
Yeah.
that connectivity. I'm just the tools of change, worrying about worrying. So that's actually a really nice picture for worrying about worrying because you can see that she's not actually in a worrying state. She's shifted the perspective to looking a little bit beyond that, and she's understanding. Oh, worrying about worrying is kind of stupid to do, right? Which is what a lot of people do. So yeah, absolutely. I do choose my titles with somewhat of an exquisite care.
Do you choose them with SEO in mind?
No. Yes and no, but not truly in the SEO sense. No. I choose my titles as a fractal conception of the post. So that you can just take that title and if you water it enough,
Dissect it.
it will work and become a self-telling story.
Right.
Especially once you know what it is, it's an encapsulation of the whole story. So I'm trying to see a nice example. Now that some of these are fiction stories, like this one, actually a really cool story, and it was actually published too, so it's kind of nice.
I understand that you
Right.
put countless hours into looking for just the right image. It's
Oh.
sold
Exactly,
forever.
exactly. Right. So the tools of
To find
change.
the right
Right.
one.
Especially
The right
the ones
mood.
that are open to use.
Right, right, exactly. The tools, some of these are not free to use when
But you
in
have
the
a
blog,
different
but
file.
now we've shifted to making them free to use ones, right? The tools of change, playing life, you know, that's somewhat, I'm looking for a nice one that, a nice example of a fractal conception. The independence of being, of nobleness. That's a little bit of a clumsy title, but that has a lot. The independence of being, of nobleness. So by implication, nobleness is connected to independence of being, and when you have nobleness, you have independence of being. So I'm saying this is so I'm going to delineate on that, obviously. I'm really saying that. So yeah, I do pack a lot into the titles.
Your material is kind of dense, and that's
Oh,
not a
it's very
criticism.
dense.
It's not a criticism.
No, I understand.
It's kind of dense, and it requires deep introspection
Oh yeah.
to really
Yes.
understand it.
The way that my posts, the absolute actual ideal format for my post is the slides, not in a continuous reading. There needs to be that forced pause
Yeah.
in the breakup, because when you read the next sentence, there's not that automatic stop to absorb and continue, and that in my post absolutely necessitates that. Yes.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'll just write basically one paragraph
Yeah.
and that's it, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just a nature of what I'm
It's
doing.
like
because
every
I'm thinking
post could actually be.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and again, I'll point out
Stretched
that if
out.
I were doing this on my own, going through the course and then meeting with you once a week, I wouldn't get the depth of understanding that I get here by interacting with you.
Well,
Going
to a
through
certain
that.
extent you would, because you
The
go through it
takeaways.
and you do your notes, right?
Yeah.
And now in the notes, if you're doing it strictly according to what the course is, you're going to do three things in your notes. You're going to do your takeaways, in other words, your quote takeaways, what's meaningful to you. Then you're going to make your list of the dictionary of power terms. And the third thing is you're going to construct in your third file, you're going to do a repeat back. So you're going to take that module or that session that we just did, and you're going to kind of basically make notes and write it out how you understood, like this, to insist on extracting them all. Myles would have
came
come
up
back
for
and
you?
said, well, you know what, this is really all about magic. And he would explain back on the insisting on extracting them all was all about magic. That would his repeat back over to me. He's explaining it back to me as if I haven't heard it, and also you checking your own understanding.
Right.
So there's two sessions that are following that. So there's quite a lot of intensity on the module. Now there's a couple of sessions in the module, but all of them. So you will get that deep density. And also, part of that, by implication, if you're checking how you understood it, you're going to say, well, I'm not quite sure about this part. So instead of a question, I don't want it to be, I have questions specifically. I want you to at least formulate what you think it might mean, rather than asking the question directly. Because if you just ask questions, you feed people automatically. But when you can say, I'm not quite sure on this, but this is kind of what I thought it meant, at least you've given it some thought ahead of time.
Yeah.
Now, okay, let's say you get it completely wrong. Okay, so then you share that. You don't say, obviously, no, you got it wrong. Say, yes, it's a
Yeah,
perspective.
that's
It's
good.
a perspective.
And that's the same. I mean, that's what's happening with Ryan and Michael and Janelle.
Right.
But here
Yeah.
we're actually going even deeper because we're riffing off of each other in
Oh,
real time.
we're getting collaboration going.
Yes.
Collaboration.
Precisely. We're getting that 1 + 1 = more. Exactly. So that it's just that simple little session there. I mean, it really there's just a moreness to us, but we're already connecting to that moreness. So for somebody who hasn't seen that before, who's strictly going through it, it's going to be like a big deal, no? That little simple insisting on extracting them all. I don't. I feel it. I'm not sure. The moment of now. I have no clue what this is, by the way. I don't remember this at all, so I'm coming into this just to say.
I will teach each other then.
I liked it when you guys read them, by the way, so
Yeah.
it is very cool.
Because it's
Let me
more,
read this one.
yeah.
Let me put it
I-
closer.
It's more.
Yeah.
They're extracting them. You're insisting on extracting them more.
Exactly. I get more when I get it from you. And also, when you do give that feedback on it, you're doing it from the point of view as if you were explaining it to one of the people in Ryan's Ryan's your followers. That's what you
Yeah.
call them, followers.
Yep. His name's Miles, by the way.
Miles, yeah, you keep calling Miles, right?
Ah, man.
And
I
Miles
don't know.
has,
You can-
he instinctually, I mean, automatically he does that thing.
Does he look like Ryan?
Where he
Not
He
really.
has
I'm giving you a hard time, by the way. I don't care.
No, I
Yeah.
know, but it bothers me that I said I have
it
no
bothers
idea
me.
why.
No,
It doesn't
it
make any
doesn't
sense.
It's understandable,
But I just
right?
think about
Not
it.
really.
You've gotten my name
You
right
know-
a few times now, so that's something to be appreciative for, right?
All right, I guess so. But you know what? It's probably just the earnestness, the connectivity to the earnestness.
Oh, Ryan is very earnest.
Also,
Yeah.
the same earnest intensity
Yeah.
and the same desire to do good in the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, that's so. Maybe that's you know, subconsciously I'm looking for a connectivity because Ryan struggles. He doesn't have. He wants that fluidity that you have.
There's just
Right?
different.
What do you
He
mean?
wants that.
That's right.
Well, you fluidly connect to your
Right,
followers.
now.
You express. You get people
Really?
following you. You can express what you say. You can write a nice post. He doesn't have any of that yet.
The
He wants
Midwest,
that. He
Belgium,
struggles to express what he wants. to
Illinois,
say. Even
Belgium.
though you know,
That's connection to self.
I understand that, but you know, he grew up
And that's
in
Michael.
that deep religious thing, right? And he does see himself as
Candy guy,
a
right?
prophet,
No.
right? I mean, quite
This is
literally, but in terms of
Ryan-
spreading the truth.
Ryan and Michael are
He wants to
friends.
communicate
Okay.
an awareness and an understanding of religion, where, or particularly Christianity, where it becomes applicable and utilizable.
Hence that other course that you guys thinking about.
Exactly, but I mean we're utilizing it in this one, and I put some stuff in like that, the story of the preacher, right, and that whole perspective of making sense that in the overall the flaw is deliberate, so that's a big that for them.
He's funny.
But here's the point though, because they grew up with this huge, intense focus on the Bible and all that, they can quote from the Bible. Who's that?
Look at that earnest face. Oh my God, that's so
Right,
earnest.
exactly.
And they're funny,
Exactly.
actually.
Right. But they're
He's
very
so
real,
earnest.
and it's
Yeah.
not a
She
self
looks
right.
sweet.
And the same,
And the kids are.
Miles,
Hmm?
the same struggle with ego.
The
Ryan
baby's
has that
born.
also. But he doesn't have the ability to express himself because their entire life has grown up quoting the Bible. When you quote stuff, you can't put it into your own words. And so yes, it's you can quote, but you can't actually make a sermon out of it because a sermon is what is a sermon? It's putting it into your own
Has
words.
he been making his own quote? That should help, no?
It will, yeah. We haven't gotten there yet. There's so much overwhelm for them that it's slowed everything down. So we're probably going to take a year doing this course, which is fine by me. I don't mind that. But they know they're overwhelmed and they're very appreciative. I mean, he sent me a donation, sent me $300, and he works construction.
He's tithing us.
Mm.
Which is
I
good.
thought that was you know, just from appreciation. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, he's basically, you know, he's kind of like a post beta, you
Yeah.
know, and he understands that. I said, look, all I want from you is just post your experience in the group, which they struggle to do because they don't have that ability to
That
post
you
the way you
have.
post. Your post that you made, the one that you posted in the group, that takeaway, you took your notes and you made it into the post, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's all you did. That's what I wanted to do, but they're not getting it. You know, it's just, that's all I asked them. I said, please just do that because when you say that, this is my takeaway from the course, the module this week. You're advertising the course like crazy,
Yes.
aren't you? It's very simple. I mean, it's not anything untoward or that, but you're letting people know what the course is about. You're letting them know your experience. This is what I got out of the course yesterday. That's all I have to say, but they struggle to get there, you know.
Can
So
I be super transparent with you?
absolutely, you have to be.
I'm thinking this course, I mean, it's going to have to be modified to reach the hearts and minds of my audience.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think at that point, like, we're going to come to some, like, the details and all that. You guys
Oh,
can
it's
figure
just,
it
it's
out.
going to change into something else entirely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I
This
think we're-
course is not geared for the masses, as it were. It's geared towards other coaches and CEOs and top level. Absolutely not yet. So that's where you guys are coming. That's why the resonance and the connectivity, and we can go at speed. It's not geared towards the guy down there. No, it's geared as a course for instructors, for other coaches. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
So
so
then you take it.
I mean, that's our intent, very specifically. I mean, we have it very, in that, I was one of my memories, I think, or something. I was searching for something for the course, and I came across that post of the Frida, the one whose world got rocked from the concept of nobleness. Our conversation was about making a course specifically for CEOs. Her intent, she's in South Africa, she wants to change the culture in South Africa because it's just completely screwed up right now, the culture. And she's saying, how do we change this culture? I said the most powerful way is to change corporate culture. On corporate culture, that's your fulcrum point. And she's worked in corporate. She did wellness things, classes and stuff in corporate. So it didn't kind of pan out for her, and she's not doing it right now, but she was doing it at the time. I said, there's the leverage point. Work on the CEO, get him to kind of click on what's going on, and now you change the corporate culture, and there you go. And then that's where it permeates into it. Anyway, never went anyway.
Well,
So.
Miles
But
was
it's
talking
still
about.
right. But we were talking in that post though about the course, and that's the same. Lee and I discussed that. That's our intent, is to make this course for top level. Yeah. So just so you know, so yeah, we're going to take this, and through your ability to put it into the language of the people down
The
there,
audience.
right? You know,
His target.
His
right,
target
the
market.
target market, right?
Yeah,
it's a whole different. You need to change the language. Everything needs to be changed. So yeah. And
So
now-
basically, all of this information
Right.
needs to go
right. But look at the
in
profoundness
these
of this
different languages.
and the gift. In that shifting of this and taking this course and making it appropriate for your particular audience, that actual activity is going to put that all inside you and satisfy the intent that you came with in the door. Magic, man. Magic on top of magic. It's just always more.
More magic.
There's always more. All right, so who's reading?
So John was.
Go ahead, John. Okay.
Shifting where we are and how we feel, how we think, and how we perceive is essential to learning. This session presents a list of options for shifting in ways which enable change. Looking at life and ourselves differently is an essential ingredient for personal transformation.
It's just perfect. It takes off exactly what your post was. That your X equal Y, right? The perspective shifting, X then Y. This is exactly what this is all about.
How can I look at this moment differently? Limo?
Limo.
That's Lisa.
It's a friend of mine. I had a lot of conversations. She became a character in the
Oh.
story, so I just call her Limo. So, in my quote file.
Everybody gets turned into multiple characters.
Right. Well, not necessarily multiple, but yeah, at some place we'll. So let's see. What will you guys be in the story? Okay, so we've got John, Owen, Ryan, Scott.
Miles Scott.
What's that?
Miles.
Miles
You
Scott.
said Ryan
Did I
Scott.
say right? Miles Scott.
You can call me John of Joy.
John of Joy.
We were just talking about John,
John of God.
But that's too. You know, you need a name that's got kind of a futuristic type of thing.
Yeah.
So if you
in
take
the future.
like you put John and Joy together, and so we may have JoJo
How about
out the
Yeah.
Y. You know what I mean? So it's John and Joy, but merged together, or
or
JoJo.
own.
John Jacob Jingleheimer?
right.
Or I'm Joe.
Right. But, or you could say.
We drop the J and we go
right.
start with the O.
But
because that's
like
already
like
continued.
Miles could be EMMES.
Emmis?
Emmis, right? Because it's MS, Miles Scott.
Oh, yeah,
See,
yeah, right.
Emmis. So like Eska is Stephanie Knutella, SK,
Yeah.
and she's ESKA, so Eska. So he'll be Emmis would be kind of a name for you. So you see, I
It's
have to
very
think of it more.
futuristic.
Where did
Angel.
the word Biala come from?
Biela,
Biela.
Biela. I just made it up.
Oh, it wasn't what we're talking about.
No,
Okay.
no.
No.
Joy C.
No, Biela is just she's an amalgam of everything. She's just an ideal representation of all of us, of every part. It's not me specifically, not Olivia specifically, but
Do you have a character?
yeah, the young man. Oh yeah.
The
Well,
Asper?
that's
No, the young man. That's the character's name.
because
That's
there's
me
the
in
young
story.
man's story.
Right,
The young
right.
man's telling
So
the story.
right, so the young man's story, which is like my memoir story, right, my whole story. It's part of the origin stories of the new nobility. Now they're way in the future, right? So they look back at this now because the young man and his heart, which is the H capital H heart, that's the story, young man and his heart. They are, part of the foundation of where the new nobility, the whole thing started. So these become origin stories. So they like to refer back to it because that's where everything came out of. So it's part of the new nobility mythology, the young man's story. So the young man is both an actual historical figure and he's also somewhat of a mythological figure. So, you could, for instance, if you're telling a story to illustrate, the young man you might use the young man as an example. So there's this layered complexity. So the young man's story, which is, I don't know, it's like a dozen books or something, it's quite a long thing.
Wow.
It's a sub-series to the Biala series, right? So it also connects in a different way, because also the now you ask me, see, rabbit holes, man, dang it. The start of the
Vienna.
entire, well, before the pre-start to it, how they get to be out in the universe, it's the New Nobility Corporation starts this whole project of doing the impossible. And one of the impossible was to design an engine, some kind of a way to jump shift, wormhole. So the great gravity engine gets invented, and there's this freak occurrence once in a, so that's how the thing starts, and they kind of do this jump into the next universe. But then, because the whole shift of the impossible becoming possible becomes this big deal, the one thing that people didn't think to be possible was that the old gods actually were real. In fact, so I'll pull that in just for a nice mechanism. So it turns out that they are actually real, and they sort of wised up after centuries of realizing that we're basically assholes.
The Greek or the Roman gods?
Across the gamut, right?
Oh, okay.
I mean, there's just any, the universal, right? So, so I bring some names from other places into. But so the gods have kind of wised up, and they've retreated from being participants in work, because they realize that unintended consequences, and because they don't have enough awareness, they're causing trouble. So they're sort of looking from the outskirts, and they're looking to minimally interact, right? Because they're also subject to the universe. They're part of it. At any rate, well, the point I want to make here real quick, why the whole story fits in nicely. So as they jump, the gods say, yes, they're going out into this new universe with this great gravity engine, which is this big game changer, because they can jump everywhere. So they can now suddenly, everybody else is in their own little pockets evolving. They could potentially disrupt evolution for other species, because there are other species and civilizations out there.
So is this a marvel?
Right. So what they do is they cause a screw up, and so instead of everything happening all orderly, the computers get corrupted, and the whole fleet of 1,000 ships get dispersed all across this galaxy, and each ship gets its own little planet, and they say, hey, if that noble ideal can survive in each individual instance of it, with the crash, and if it can survive, then we know it has some real validity. So it's like their little field study. Okay, we got 1,000 tests, that's enough. Maybe it's even more than 1,000 ships. But in that corruption, everything, all the database gets corrupted. So of course the young man's story comes out kind of in fragments, so they don't have the totality of it. So that's where all those supplemental works, I got like 3,000 or 4,000 of them. That's why they're not all complete works, because some of them also became corrupted. You see, so
Multi-layered.
You
got a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Right. Don't start the multi-layered.
I sent some animal. What's it called? That book where they get stranded on an island.
Animal Farm?
Animal Farm.
I don't know. I don't remember.
So when you're talking about the diaspora of
all
these ships to all these planets,
right. But there's a logic to it, So the gods are saying, hey, we can't take this chance of, humans. Yes, they're going out to the noble ideal, but we first have to test it. It's like it's still a new thing.
Yeah.
So they force this test, which is pretty cool. Make kind of a sense to it. This is a deeper logic.
Yeah.
So that's actually
a
cool.
rabbit hole.
Right. So then we come the Biela series. That's like the prologue to it. And that just stops there. After that, the dispersion, it doesn't really go into that early days. Then we pick this up centuries later. And Biela is the descendants of, obviously, those people that came in. And that's why I actually started that, because when I wrote it, she's kind of like I was saying with that one friend of mine, she's too ideal for people. They don't have a relativity to connect to it. However, if you now see Biela as your descendant, that's a whole different logic. Now you're relating to it as your future potential descendant. Now I can take pride in Biela being special and wonderful and being ideal.
Sorry, I feel like something sweet.
Yeah.
I know, I don't mean to
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Nobilia comes from noble?
Yes, absolutely. Because the new nobility is the society living on this planet, and it's called Nobilia because it is a society entirely surrounding or founded on the concept of nobleness, of being noble. Nothing to do with hereditary, absolutely nothing.
Right.
That's why they call it the new nobility. They always stress the new nobility, and never would use it just on its own. I'm a new noble, as they would say. The reason why also noble, and she's Biela noble, first of all, every new noble is an actual employee of the New Nobility Corporation, because that's the start of it. And they're very practical oriented. So, secondly...
Are they clones?
No, not clones. But secondly, the name noble, it just so happened the universe conspired that when they first got onto those ships, it just so happened that there wasn't anybody called Noble on the ships, and so they trademarked the name coming into the new thing. So that's the only people who can call themselves noble are people who are actually part of the new nobility and or employees of the corporation.
Whoa.
Just a nice fun little
I
layer
want
to
to
it.
know what you've been smoking.
You know, I tell you, it's fertilizer, man. There's lots of fertilizer.
That's good. That's good. You're so creative.
I say he's a galactic emissary.
Yeah, right.
Found out your new
He
name.
said, "Don't box me in,"
Yeah, yeah.
and I
think
came
he's
up
an
with
alien
this
now.
name. Yeah,
Right.
galactic emissary.
Yeah.
He's your answer.
Galactic what?
Emissary.
You're right.
Yeah.
So John would also could be JC, Jaycee, JC.
Yeah. What about Yoj?
For John, Yoj?
Why not start
In the
with the
story,
O,
backwards
like
of
drop
joy.
the J?
Oh, there you go. That's kind of
Roji.
cool.
Because it has to be sci-fi.
Well, JC is kind of sci-fi. It's not a regular name.
Jace.
There are some regular names like Laura and Marco. You know, so I mix them up. You know, make some names that are a little out there, like the one of them, Hermupt. Is it HRMUMPT?
What about Liban?
Liban.
I think he plays
Noble.
for one of those basketball
Oh
teams.
yeah.
Yeah, it does sound that way.
Noble backwards.
Right.
Mm.
Noble will be
Liban.
L, the EL.
I'll be pleased
Elbon.
when the chocolate's finished. Because then I'll stop eating
Nobel
sweets.
Peace Prize. No.
That's Nobel. Noble is LE.
Elbon.
So Elbon.
We're just making up names.
Well, it's fun to make up names. I love making up names.
Yeah, I like making up names.
That's the thing with Biella. I wanted a name that's not too weird and out there. That's, you know, because there's Bella, obviously. And Bella means good, beautiful.
Arabi.
Right.
The
Right.
Arabian.
Right, but you know, I don't want to have too much of a conventional name, and I also wanted a name that is unique. I've never seen Biella anyway, so with that, you know,
The name of an Italian town.
Biella?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know that. Okay.
What's inside those?
Okay, caramel.
Yeah, caramel and some nuts.
Amazing.
Are we torturing you? Is that what you said?
No, I'm gonna have some, but
Oh.
I just felt like, oh.
What's
And
the
usually I'm
what's the
not-
verb for what you're doing?
dipping,
Dipping.
Mm.
spitooning.
Dipping, that's what I'm looking for. Dipping.
Mm.
I really love the Biella series, by the way. I'm really deep in my heart.
Yeah,
I
I would
love
love to
Vienna.
read it.
Oh, we'll get there.
Mhm.
I purposely have not shared that link with you because it's a rabbit hole, man. We have to keep our focus. If we go
Yeah.
down this, it's a
Later.
We have 8
huge-
days, yeah.
Right, and
Yeah.
there's plenty of time later to that, yeah.
I
I
tell
really
you,
feel
Miles,
like-
there is so much. You haven't even met Jones yet. We're just introducing you to Biella. Jones is like,
Jones
oh.
is a plural, by the way.
Yes.
And Jones doesn't have sex either
Now
because
you'll
they
really
mock.
think.
So
Okay.
Because they what?
Should we tell him
Jones
just
is
a
just a
little bit?
satirical character. He's an alien who comes and inhabits a human body, but on his home planet, or him, I keep saying him, they. Jones is a they, multi-sex, and they've got multiple brains, so they have a plurality.
Yeah. How many arms and legs do they have?
Right. So Jones is like, he's a bureaucrat, essentially.
Okay.
We have a fun little
writer.
story. That's the thing.
Shh. Silence.
So Jones comes to Earth, and he's like writers, and he looks up writers. That's his disguise, by the way. I figure, well, writers are pretty crazy, and nobody minds if they talk a lot of shit. Well, I'm doing research for my book, so you can get away with being a writer, especially on the internet. Who the hell's gonna know you're an alien if you're in a writer group? You're gonna say whatever the hell you like. Anyway.
Silas blowing his cover here.
Right,
To
I'm
what?
just messing.
she said I'm blowing my cover.
Oh.
But see, I'm learning from Trump because you've just got to be preposterous and you put it out there, nobody will believe it's true because you're saying it about yourself. See, it's like more words. Anyway, so Jones, she's in the writers group, right? And there is a very big writers group called Writers Group, right, on Facebook. And with the apostrophe after the S, which very much appeals to Jones because they're very pedantic and they're very bureaucratic. Because it's multiple writers, right? So it's
Yeah,
writers, right, anyway. And that's Jones, because it's Joneses with an apostrophe at the end. Anyway.
And the planet that he's from.
Right.
You've got to tell me
Well,
where they're
that,
from.
I just want to say about, he gets all, so he sees in the group that the hierarchy of writers is like the novelist is at the top, and then you got maybe the non-fiction writer, and then the poet, and he's just incensed with this. It doesn't matter what the order is, he just completely just goes nuts with it. He says the report writer's not even on that list. the report writer's the pinnacle of everything. And he goes into this whole, he explains like, if you're writing a report like for an official, like say for the president, that report not only has to be concise and condensed, you have to have all information in there because, they don't have time to read the whole report.
Did you post this in the writers group?
I've got it as a post somewhere as a story. I might not even have posted, I don't know yet, but I've got it. So anyway, so he goes on about this and he says, but two, that the real skill, if you're now really good, you leave the guy out, you leave him cover, so that if whatever he's, the new suggestion for the dam and it goes fucked and the whole thing collapses, he's got somebody to blame. And me as the writer of the report, I need to have somebody else to blame. So there's skill involved, there's profound skill. He's explaining compared to writing a novel. Where's the consequence if you write shit in a novel? Nothing. I don't shit in my report, people can die. So man, the report writer is by far the pinnacle.
Number one.
You must be very passionate about this project.
I just enjoy Jones's. He just he takes the mickey out of people and
Yeah.
so one day Jones is listening to talk radio and he's laughing his ass off. So one of his friends comes by. I said, what are you listening to? It's like really funny. He said, yeah, listen to Rush Limbaugh. The satire is just genius. This guy's mocking these idiots by feeding us crap. And I truly actually thought at one time, I thought that he was a comedian. And somebody, Randall agreed with me. He said, in the beginning, he thought Rush Limbaugh was exactly doing that, wasn't satirist. Then he sort of became serious. No? I don't know. It seemed to me that way. But
Yeah.
I can make a good case for early Rush Limbaugh being this just like ridiculously good satirist.
I can see that.
I mean, he was just
Yeah.
like poking the fun and taking the mickey out of these idiots. He was just mocking them almost. Jones, there's a whole story about that. So it was a nice way of a little bit of political satire. Jones thinks it's the funniest thing ever.
But Jones himself is funny.
Oh, he's quite hilarious. So the thing that started with Jones is that somebody made a post in the writers group where they were just bitching and complaining and being an arsehole. And typical troll post. So I thought, well, instead of, and everybody's reacting to it. Now I don't respond to this, but I said, let me do this and get a bit of more out of it and leverage it for some more. So I said, how can I basically stick it to this guy in a way that's kind of fun and humorous, and at the same time have him enjoy me basically poking fun at him and pointing out his crap.
Yeah.
And that's where the Jones story comes from. So he takes this and now he sends a report back on this post as like how he's interpreting and deciphering it. And of course he gets it completely all wrong. And because these natural form, they basically look like ambulatory vaginas, and the planet is called Vaginus, just for arse's sake. This is Jones, right. So but the guy ends the post by saying, oh, if something, if you know whatever, you're just a bunch of pussies. And so this freaks Jones out because he thinks the poster in the writers group has kind of figured out that that Jones is the alien. So he's like, cover's blown. So of course he ends up melting down and he ends up in a puddle of goo and then spontaneous combustion and he ends up back on his planet. So it's a big screw up. But he's all like, freaked out. Yeah, and, he's a bureaucrat, and the idea of like actual real physical violence, oh god, I didn't sign up for this, he panics and freaks out. I'll share that story.
You obviously have a lot of fun with this.
Yeah, Jones is a lot of fun. Yeah, he's a lot of fun. I don't write too many comedy stories. I have another one about the ruptured anus, which is pretty funny too.
That doesn't sound like a funny topic, but...
Eruption anus?
Ruptured, right. Well, the story is about very innocent, naive kind of guy, and he works, and he's got to call in sick. He's never called in sick before, but he's like really earnest and very honest at the same token. Now he's got to call in sick. And he said, well, why are you sick? And he gets the secretary. He's all thrilled that he's got the secretary.
Because he's half in love with the secretary.
No, with the boss. With the boss. So, but he's first happy because he doesn't want to share this with the boss. And he says, he's trying to squirm out of it, to be honest. He said, well, I had this accident, I got this injury. Oh, what is it? Well, I prefer not to say. Well, you'll have to speak to the boss. Fuck. Alright, so now he's got to speak to the boss. So the boss comes on and now he's trying to explain to the boss what. So, of course, eventually he has to say, the boss... But it comes, the story goes boss, because you think it's like a guy, you see, and then he's trying to impress the boss and he doesn't want to disappoint her and all this, and then it's revealed that she's a she, but you kind of play with that assumption a little bit to start with. So anyway, so she rumbles, she understands our hero, and she understands his dilemma, and she knows that there's something that he doesn't want to share. So she keeps pressing him till eventually he says, well, I can't come because I got this ruptured anus. She says, oh, well, good for you. I didn't know you swung that way. I don't mind. It's, no. And now he's horrified because he's in love with the boss. He's trying, no, that's not it. So now I have to explain how this came about. But now the problem is how this came about is, he says, well, I was in the shower and the phone rang and I came out of the shower and as I bent down to pick the phone up, he kind of ums and ahs, but basically has this fart, this high-pitched fart, and it just happens to be that his cage of hamsters and gerbils was close by, and then the little hamsters and gerbils, they just go nuts at this fart. They just like freak out, and they get all excited. Wow, so... Right.
You have too much time on your hands, man.
But well, I gotta explain the logic of how this happened now, you see. So,
you started it wrong.
Right, you started now. So now is to say, but now how does this lead to the ruptured anus? You want to know now, right? Well, because he really likes his little gerbils and they were so happy, he thinks that they like the sound. So he tries to replicate the sound and they...
You're going down the rabbit hole, man.
Exactly.
Going down the butthole.
Right. But then he discovers now, you see, that he tries to get that same tone and pitch, and he practices, and now he's got to do anal exercises to play the sounds. But eventually, he through too much pressure, he gets the ruptured anus. But then at the end of the story, he realizes that this fucking little gerbils are just freaking little stoners, and it wasn't the sound that got them all excited. They just got high on the gas. So they didn't care a shit about the sound. They were just freaking little drug addicts, essentially.
Oh my God. What an imagination.
Right. But when I don't tell it the way it's written. It's much better when you write it.
Let me ask you one final question before we get back into it.
Yeah.
Is this like stream of consciousness as you develop?
No.
Or you're thinking it through, structure it, and then you write through it?
Right. Because there's a logic to it. The underlying logic, it's the exploitation of earnestness and self-honesty. This
is a lesson in each one.
Kind of a little bit, but it's just having fun with it. I mean, the guy in this case, it's like, you take that premise of a ruptured anus. I know I might have heard ruptured anus somewhere and said, like, now how would somebody who's earnest and honest explain this to his boss? And how would they earnestly and honestly, in an innocent way, come up with this? So now you're constructing it for that. You backward engineer it in there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's the humor of it, is his honesty and honesty and how he struggles with this. Like, don't ask me this question, please, and then ask he has to say it. So that's the fun part of it. And also the impossibility is trying to make his gerbils and things. And stuff that you would do in private, which, in your own inner logic, it sort of makes sense. Well, make them happy, why not?
Do you ever have a twist at the end, like an Edgar Allan?
Yeah, there's some kind of little twist in it, right? Which the twist in this case, it doesn't come out nicely, but the twist is that they didn't get all excited because of the sound, and he's trying to replicate the sound, and at some point he can even play the national anthem through his arse and all that. So, but the twist is that they were just going off the fumes. So he's ruptured anus, and he's coming out to there is a twist. There is a twist. So turns out his boss loves gerbils and hamsters, and she's totally enamored with all this effort that he makes for the gerbils and hamsters. And the end of the story is that he's now the stay-at-home husband, and they married and they moved happily ever after.
It's a Hollywood ending.
Of course.
Right.
So because the build-up of it is, you basically have this expectation of yes, our earnest guy is getting screwed all the time, right? That's the thing story. So then it comes with a sudden twist where no, he actually does get the twist, because it's so improbable that him and the boss would be together, but because she has this love of gerbils. So I'll share the story with you. It's much better when you read it. I don't tell the stories well at all, because you lose the build-up.
But it's a real art in storytelling,
right,
for sure.
Right. I can tell them in writing, but I don't
especially
verbally,
verbal storytelling is quite an art.
Right. If I know the story, when I write those, I don't remember them. I can't quote them. Like some stories I know intimately, and then I can tell the story, and then I can do it justice. But I don't remember them enough in detail.
There's a show on NPR on Saturday afternoon, Snap Judgment, I think it is. And they're just wonderful stories. They really